and I'll welcome the Eden Park Trust Board to address us. Metallica here was last meeting, made a lot of noise, and it was good to read the majority of the fans are from out of town and make a pretty good case for the government agreeing to the bed night visitor levy. Nick and your team, please come forward.
Kia ora koutou. Good morning, everyone. I'll just provide a very brief summary of the accompanying agenda report and then hand over to Nick and the team to present. So the Trust last presented to you in May 2025 and they were scheduled to appear before you again in September, but that was deferred due to the local body elections. So this is their next opportunity to talk to you. So just by way of key updates, which you'll find outlined in the agenda report, the loan facility balance with Council remains steady at 48.75 million.
Wayne Brown, you are a shameful individual. I hope you realise that.
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
You should all be ashamed of yourself.
Free beer.
Yeah, so the loan matures in September 2029 and the Trust continues to pay interest on that. In accordance with their loan facility agreement, the Trust have submitted their proposed operating budget to us for FY26 and they expect to make a modest net operating profit for the year ended 31 October 2026. Work's underway to address the main stadium governing body resolutions that you made in March, which included in principle support subject to a number of conditions, including resolving governance arrangements. So Council staff are in discussions with the Trust, Auckland Cricket and Auckland Rugby to progress that. In governance updates, Kieran Smith has recently handed over the role of Chair of the Trust Board to Simon Bridges, and Kieran continues as a trustee and serves in the role of Deputy Chair. The government has released an investigative report around the planning provisions for Eden Park precinct, and that item will be coming to you for consideration, I believe, on the 27th of November. And then finally, in September, the government announced a $70 million tourism and events funding package, which includes opening opportunities for concerts and live music, which were previously not eligible for that funding. So I'm happy to take questions, but otherwise propose to hand to Nick and the team for their presentation. Thank you.
I think we'll welcome you, Nick, and make your presentation.
Morena councillors, and congratulations on your appointment as councillors to our great city. We're going to go through a number of slides today and just highlight the last 12 months of Eden Park's activities. Brett will cover off on the financial performance of the last 12 months and then I'll take the lead on the remainder of the presentation.
Kia ora and good morning, everybody. I'm just going to present quickly the results, the forecast results for financial year 2025. Our financial year end date was the 31st of October, so we're in the process of having our annual audit at the moment, so these are unaudited results and there'll be some small adjustments to these for final year-end adjustments to things such as revaluations of property, but they will be fairly close. So we're happy to report a profit after interest but before depreciation of $4.2 million for the year, as per the first column. The second column there was the budget for the year. We had budgeted a fairly modest profit of $635,000 before depreciation, so we enjoyed the benefit of some very successful major events in the year, the Coldplay concert, the Luke Combs concert, and two very successful All Blacks test matches, particularly the South African test late in the year in September. Looking forward to 2026, we don't have quite the same level of major event activity in the year. We have the one concert day of Metallica, which took place fortunately under excellent conditions last week. However, in the previous year, between Coldplay and Luke Combs, there were 5 concert days. So we are projecting a modest profit before depreciation of $145,000 next year, but we will remain compliant with our covenant, interest cover covenant requirements at that point. There's nothing further I wish to say about the financial performance at this point.
Thank you, Brett. And I'd just like to cover off on the major event calendar in 24-25. 70% of today's activity wasn't part of our business model 5 years ago. Last year, we had just over 700,000 attendees across our event calendar. We also did over 50,000 attendees throughout our corporate function business and approximately 10,000 in our experience opportunities, whether it be through glamping tours or rooftop tours. As Brett mentioned, it was a diverse calendar of content throughout the entire year, starting with those magnificent 3 nights of Coldplay, over 65,000 for the 3 shows per night. The Outer Oval continues to be a challenge for us with domestic cricket, and we welcome the opportunity and Auckland Cricket's announcement that their desire to move to Colin Maiden Park, along with Auckland Rugby's desire to move out of Eden Park. That will enable us to optimise our event calendar. We have secured the Blues for another 2 years. International cricket, although the fixtures didn't attract the attendance as we would have liked, it is an exciting year ahead with India touring. Luke Combs was record spends in our food and beverage, given the demographic over the 2 nights. And then capping off a big year with both monster trucks, but also then for those who were able to attend the Tongan fixture at Eden Park, it was spectacular to see such a vibrant crowd at our national stadium. Coming up over the next 12 months, as Brett mentioned, our concert content at this point in time is soft. However, we do have the Edinburgh Tattoo in February. I encourage you all to promote these great events. Without Eden Park underwriting that event wouldn't come to Auckland. So I just, again, request that all councillors, if you're not able to attend these events, please utilise your channels to promote our great city and the event calendars that we have. Another event that I want to touch on, that we're fortunate enough to go against 14 cities and secure the special convention of the Jehovah's Witness. I sent out some information to councillors. If you didn't have a chance to read that, there'll be over 20,000 attendees per day in January. 18 hotels have been confirmed. 2,200 odd rooms have been secured. The individuals attending the Congress will be between 3 and 14 days in the city. 37 hotels have been engaged for that event. At this stage, it's looking like around 17,000 room nights associated with that event at Eden Park. That event is on between the 9th and the 11th of January. Just reiterating that Eden Park continues to be the home of the Blues, the Black Caps, the All Blacks, and the international venue of choice, both rugby league and football. With regard to our community engagement, we often talk about the fact that Eden Park is a strategic asset for New Zealand, but a community asset for Auckland. I'm very proud to just report on the last 6 weeks of activities at the park. The Barfoot and Thompson fundraiser for Starship raised over $188,000. The Rebel Sport Cure Kids 24-hour challenge that's featured down on the bottom right, over $250,000. The Upside Downs fundraiser associated with children with Down syndrome raised over $85,000. And Jono and Ben with Kids Can played handball for 24 hours and raised over $500,000. So in just over 6 weeks, Eden Park has contributed through making the venue available over $1 million for various charities across Auckland and New Zealand. That's just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the activities, and I won't go through all the philanthropic activities we're involved in, but it is important to note that these activities are critical for a number of the charities that operate in Auckland and New Zealand. So just going further on that, there's a whole range of other initiatives that we do. I remember one of the first CEOs I worked for in Melbourne said if we did everything to make money, we probably wouldn't do 70% of the activities at a stadium. And that's very true about Eden Park, that a lot of these activities are for raising funds for much needed charities and worthy charities. It's also the opportunity to present opportunities for the likes of Make-A-Wish and Will Enable, who have done a number of initiatives at the park. The last one I wanted to touch on was the University of Auckland and our Solve It initiative. So the University of Auckland is a strategic partner of Eden Park. The Solve It initiative saw students in their holidays over 100 students participated with 3 of our Icon partners in various live initiatives. So whether it be AA Insurance, Samsung or Permobil, activities that were business problems that could be solved by the students coming together. And those students then had the opportunity to win prizes but also get further employment opportunities through that initiative. As far as our sustainability initiatives and our community engagement, the Hood continues to be our channel into our community. We have over 1,500 members of the Hood, 350 businesses and also 12 schools that participate. We do community markets involving the Hood. We do a whole range of e-waste collections through our partnership with Samsung. We do first aid courses and also we do grow space sustainability initiatives in our car park and in our garden area. I just wanted to touch on the community engagement, and I was fortunate enough to get some research by the local member, Helen White. The net support for Eden Park to hold more events is over 73%, according to Helen's recent research. Enabling other activities is over 86%, and increasing sports activity is 80%. So I just want to reiterate to those councillors around the table that perhaps aren't aware of the work that we've done in the community. We have such a great response from our community. Our staff are very engaged with the community, and I must emphasise that our community wants more activity at our national stadium. With regard to sustainability, the team was this year able to win 2 global awards. One was in the sustainability and community space at the Stadium Business Awards in 2025 for one of the most sustainable stadiums globally. Our waste management and recycling, all waste created at the park is sorted on event days. We also engage with community groups and church groups around the street cleaning to ensure the venue presents the community post-event in a cleaner situation than it was pre-event. In terms of that food waste, we do see the ability to continue to remove plastic out of our activities. So we serve all our drinks in aluminium cans that get recycled through a Māori initiative. Our Morningside Urban Market Garden now, that's run by the community, so all our scraps, food scraps you can see in those images go into that space and then gets composted. We also have 360,000 bees on site, generating approximately 800 jars of honey each year. With regard to energy efficiency, we've been fortunate to convert a number of our areas to LED lighting. It is something that we're focused on with the CRL opening. We will be 7 minutes to the centre of town, so we are promoting the need for greater utilisation of public transport. In general, we see over 60% of our patrons coming to Eden Park on public transport, and I'm confident that's going to increase as the CRL opens. With regard to water conservation, the councillors around the table will know approximately 18 million litres of water annually is saved and diverted from city water by utilising a bore at Eden Park that irrigates the number 1 and number 2 fields and eliminates the need for city water usage. We have Green Star accreditation, and as I mentioned earlier, with Samsung, one of our Icon partners, doing a range of e-waste collections, and that continues to be an initiative that we'll do into the coming year. Our inclusion and accessibility, we lead the world in this space, and I'd encourage you all to come and take a venue tour. I know some of you have seen the venue and what we do in this space, but we are very proud of the work we've done with Permobil around our comfort zones that give mobility and accessibility patrons a comparable experience at the park, whether it be with screens, heaters, or indeed tables in that area, but it also puts a physical barrier to ensure that people are not encroaching on that zone. We also have a sensory room at the venue. We had to expand that space. We were able to get grant funding from one of the community trusts to enable that space to be implemented, and approximately 65 families per event go into that space for up to 15 minutes for our neurodiverse community. We have initiatives for individuals who have low vision. We've implemented hidden disabilities, sunflower lanyards, and I do want to touch on a world record attempt with Permobil in December for the number of wheelchair patrons coming to a stadium on a day. So we've seen a significant increase, and the ability to park, mobility parking on Cricket Avenue has been a game changer for us with the new comfort zones. Our Māori strategy, for those who are able to attend and participate, the world's largest haka at Eden Park. It aligned beautifully with our kōtuitanga, with Ngāti Whātua. We've done a lot of work in this space. We do hope that Te Matatini comes back to Eden Park sooner than the 20 years it took last time. But in saying that, to be what voted as one of the top 10 BBC happy moments for the year was something very special. And for those who are able to attend that event, it has changed the world. The Guinness Book of Records now no longer allows a cultural event to be hijacked like it was by the French. So the French previously held the record for the world's largest haka at approximately 3,000. Now, thankfully, it's back in New Zealand, Aotearoa, and that won't happen again. In terms of economic benefit, for those of you who haven't had the chance to read the research undertaken by the University of Auckland, I encourage you to take a copy of the economic contribution of Eden Park to the Auckland region. The numbers are compelling. To think in 2020 Eden Park couldn't hold concerts. And now when we see up to 500,000 people a year coming to our concerts, and let's hope that we can deliver more. I was with businesses yesterday. A lot of those businesses are struggling in Kingsland, Dominion Road. Without Metallica, one business said to me yesterday they wouldn't have their doors open by the end of the month. So that is the impact that our concerts have. And I just want to emphasise that it's not only for the direct association around Eden Park. Over 70% of attendees at Metallica were for outside of Auckland or New Zealand. And this is a consistent trend. We're going to continue to attract the largest artists to our national stadium, and we need to ensure that Auckland gets a fair share of the $70 million government investment over the next 2 years to attract major events. And Mayor Brown, I do support a bed levy. If hotels are charging $2,000 a night for people to go to Metallica, I think it's fair to say Eden Park or the council should get a small percentage of that to ensure that we can continue to attract the likes of these artists into the future. And it shouldn't be the artists, it shouldn't be the promoter, or it shouldn't be the venue taking all of the risk. Luke Combs' case study, again, I'm mindful of time and you've got a full agenda today, but please take the time to read the research. This is research undertaken by Auckland Unlimited to demonstrate the benefits for our city. We want a city that people want to live, stay, play and work, and with major events comes a whole range of opportunities, including the ability for 3,000 people to work on an event day at Eden Park. In our catering team, over 70% are Māori and Pacific, and we know over 60% of our workforce, it's a second job. So we need to ensure that we have flexibility with our event calendar, including having concerts on Sundays or cricket or rugby games on a Sunday without the requirement to spend $15,000 on a consent. I've touched on the economic benefits associated with Jehovah's Witness Convention. Again, if anyone needs any further detail around our calendar of content over the next 3 or 6 months, please do promote our events. We need people to be attending our events, and I do believe as councillors, part of your role is actually to promote major events, attend those events and actually advocate for future events. In relation to asset management, this is a challenge for Eden Park. Approximately $70 million is required to be spent over a 10-year period. You saw with Brett's figures, around $8 million of depreciation annually. We budget for between $1 and $3 million a year for asset upgrades. For us to be able to attract the likes of Coldplay, Luke Combs and Metallica, we need to be the venue of choice, not only for New Zealand, but also against the east coast of Australia. Changes that we've made to our operating conditions at the park have increased our concert capacity to 65,000. Further changes in future could see us get to 70,000, but that comes with investment. And some of that investment is well overdue, and we welcome the council's vote last year, I think it was in March, that Eden Park can have access to a challengeable or ability to approach the council in relation to CapEx funding against the other venues in Auckland. Contestable, thank you, Brett, is the word I was looking for. I have a 1-year-old son and he was up at about 4:30 this morning, so and a 5 and 7-year-old daughter. Got to mention them as well. In terms of the asset management, we've categorised for 25-26, category A, B, C. You can see 2, 1.6 and 5.6. Stadiums are $1 billion asset as a minimum. It comes at a cost. It's no different to maintaining a house. It's one of the biggest challenges for any piece of large infrastructure, and Eden Park cannot continue to fund that alone. In relation to the council and governing body, we just note the resolutions of the March meeting. We are working in collaboration with CEO and his team around initiatives, whether it be at Eden Park, the joint management model, or indeed Auckland Cricket and Auckland Rugby. We are very supportive of those discussions, and that has been led in part by our previous chair and deputy chair, and will continue to be so with our new chair. We included these resolutions for those councillors who may not have been across it in relation to what transpired in March last year. What I would say is that we are working with central government around stage 1 of Eden Park 2.1 and finding the appropriate funding to ensure that we can attract the likes of a Cricket World Cup in future or a Men's Lions series in 2029. I just wanted to touch on the planning restrictions that we currently operate under. If you have had the chance to read through the economic contribution of Eden Park to the city, we are missing out on content because of our planning restrictions. To put it in a context for some councillors around the table, our consent is dictated by the time the sun sets in the sky. And that's whether or not we're a night or a day event. There's a whole range of overlay that limits our ability to operate. We want to be a facility that can be operating 7 days a week. Just to put it in context, I don't think any stadium in the world has 40 concerts a year. So we just need to be very clear. I did some research into the stadium I worked at, Marvel in Melbourne. Over a 13-year period, we averaged 2.5 concerts a year. So the thought that we're going to be having 40 concerts a year is flawed. What we are wanting to do is be able to attract a variety of artists that don't necessarily do multiple nights. We're restricted to 6 artists currently, over 12 shows. We're restricted on the number of concerts that we can have, so it means we're making decisions around passing on smaller shows in the likelihood that bigger shows may come to New Zealand. So there's a whole range of areas that we've touched on and communicated with councillors around. The restrictions that we currently operate under, it takes up time, it takes up resources, but it also takes up money that could be reinvested into the asset. Eden Park 2.1, it's our future covered. The focus for us is around stage 1. That enables a retractable stand in the north stand, brings you closer to the action for rugby in 13 minutes. And for cricket, it will put the cricket field into test match compliant, but also give us a front running for the quarterfinal and semi-final of the Cricket World Cup moving forward. These are the opportunities in the future for us. Unfortunately, we've missed out on the Women's Lions series. I must admit, I'm extremely disappointed that that's not been played at our national stadium. We have been an advocate for women's sport over the last 5 years. We've held 3 Women's World Cups over a 3-year period. It was a paradigm shift for women's sport, seeing Hannah Wilkinson score the opening goal of the FIFA Women's World Cup, or the Black Ferns be undefeated at Eden Park and win a Rugby World Cup final. So Eden Park was very strong in putting a bid to secure the Women's Lions series for our national stadium, but unfortunately that's going to be played at Go Smart Stadium. As far as then other fixtures on the horizon, we are hopeful that discussions continue around State of Origin, the T20 World Cup, and as I mentioned, the Men's Lions series in 2029. Some of these points have been talked out previously. We do want to see the collaboration between the four venues. A venue of best fit strategy is something that we subscribe to. If we look at the Warriors playing the Broncos with Reece Walsh playing defending premiers, we'd expect that to be a greater attendance than Mount Smart. So we do think that there's an opportunity to deliver a venue of best fit philosophy across venues. We only had to see with the recent League International with Tonga and over 40,000 fans that League fans do want to come to Eden Park. There are other areas that we think that collaboration can deliver cost savings but also synergies. That is also in the turf management space, event management space, infrastructure and asset management, co-promotion around Auckland, service provision, Amati strategy, but also alcohol management. So we welcome the ongoing discussions with Phil and his team, and we'll continue to do so with an open philosophy. Thank you for your time.
It's a very impressive presentation. Thank you very much for that. I have a couple of little questions. With the planning limitations, what actions are you proposing and how can we help? And the second one was, who makes the decision about the Women's Lions tour?
So both Eden Park and Auckland Unlimited's venues bid for those fixtures, and then NZR ultimately determine that.
Who makes the decision?
New Zealand Rugby.
Oh, New Zealand
Yep.
Rugby. Okay.
In relation to the planning conversation, Wayne, I've got a number of points that we've emphasised in our submission. The number of concerts. To give an example, if someone wants to do a residency, we wouldn't be able to do that in a given week. And this is becoming a trend because we're seeing artists want to come to one stadium. The production costs, they fly people into one city and expect people to come to that city. So we need to get greater flexibility around the number of concerts, the number of artists, and the number that can be held in a given month. When concerts going to occur, there's no reason, if you can go to Countdown on a Sunday night, there's no reason why you can't go to a concert on a Sunday night. We had a concert on Wednesday evening. Thursday was a school day. We cleaned the streets. I personally drove and walked the streets at 6 a.m. the following day. They were cleaner than what they were the night previously. A number of residents said they couldn't hear the event. From our side, we think after now delivering some 10 plus shows, we know how to deliver these events. The Outer Oval is a great way to manage people in and out of the venue. We do have the flexibility now to go to 11 o'clock. We chose not to do so for most of our shows, but we, again, want to see that flexibility with a Sunday night. Concert timing and duration. We are missing out on festivals. Currently, we are restricted on the number of hours that people can perform on stage. We have restrictions around our sound checks, bump in and bump out. As technology evolves, even the staging evolves. It's gone from having steel structures to aluminium structures. The bump in and bump out is far more efficient. We don't have the impost that was perceived when the original consent was put in place. 9 type sporting fixtures I mentioned around dictating as to the number of events or the times in which we can host events. We can't have triple headers on a Friday, Saturday and a Sunday without applying for consents. We have lighting curfews that limit the ability to operate our bump out processes and precinct objectives and policy. So what I want to emphasise is cricket and rugby will continue to be priorities for Eden Park. international cricket and rugby. Super Rugby, you saw with the Blues, we were adamant that we wanted the Blues to continue to play at Eden Park. So we know that we can manage a concert calendar with our sports content without disruption. We want to maximise the attendances for the city, and enabling us to have more events will only benefit the city and the surrounding businesses. So I can share with all councillors the research by Helen White, MP for the local area, to give you some context and I suppose reassurance around the community support for these changes.
Oh, councillors, I'm just making you aware that on the Thursday Planning Committee agenda there will be an item on Eden Park planning rules.
Okay, that might solve some things. So I've got Councillor Newman first, please.
Good morning, Nick, and as a devout Chiefs supporter, I know what the final should be, and I hope that you can host, but I've got a chair for the Chiefs. But my questions are in relation to the your presentation's largely answered my question. I'm assuming that beyond the marquee national opportunities around the World Cup and the State of Origin and the Lions Tour, your challenge really is in relation to time of play, which affects broadcasting rights. Would that be the biggest challenge? I mean, this seems to me that this is the biggest challenge for the Indian cricket team coming here, opportunities for Big Bash, what have you. It is the broadcasting rights and the time for which the games need to play to align with that. Is that your biggest challenge? And I assume that that's probably going to bleed into future conversations about variations to consenting for Eden Park.
Thanks for the question, Councillor Newman. It certainly is a challenge for us. So historically, broadcast rights is the number one revenue for sporting code. So as a result of that, they're always looking to maximise their broadcast rights. Unfortunately, a lot of the time to the detriment of local attendances. But if we want to have that content, we've got to be available to be able to host the games at those times.
And with that, because it comes up in the investigation and it's referenced in your report, I'm assuming that would probably go quite some way towards addressing your EBITDA results. I get that it's obviously good for the code, but to have that content available, even if it's at a time that Aucklanders wouldn't normally expect it, you'd still expect revenue from ticket sales and the associated revenue with catering, etc. Do you have any sense as to how useful that would be for your financial performance?
Well, if you look at our financial statements, our Icon partner revenue, our corporate suites and members are two of our significant line items. So irrespective of the cricket attendance being 10,000, partners like Samsung, Kia, Qatar, AA Insurance all get exposure on the broadcast, both locally and internationally. So for our business model to survive and thrive, we need to be able to have revenues inside the four walls of Eden Park, but also external to the four walls, and that's why the broadcast is so important for us as well. So and adding additional content, and we need to get more people to Eden Park, and whether it be quality content or indeed community content, it all plays a part in the narrative of making us financially sustainable.
Good question, thank you very much. I've got Councillor Patterson-Hamlin.
Kia ora, thank you very much. Kia ora, lovely to see you. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you on your many accessibility measures and work with organisations such as At Random, the Upside Downs Education Trust, and for the work on the haka. Before I ask my question, I'd just like to correct the record slightly. Your report quite rightly highlights the ongoing impact for the mana of the haka from that event. However, it doesn't mention that the driving force behind that event was Dame Hinewehi Mohi and the Rokatauri Music Therapy Trust, that the event was in fact a fundraiser for that organisation and they are the ones who hold the record. I acknowledge that Eden Park did discount what they charged Rokatauri for the use of the stadium, and that's a really awesome example of a community partnership making a difference, but I would appreciate it if the record was corrected to reflect that. My actual question is in response to your request for us to use networks to promote the Edinburgh Tattoo, among other things. Dunedin is a sister city of Edinburgh. They are both UNESCO cities of literature, as Glasgow and Auckland are both UNESCO cities of music. Is there engagement with the Dunedin City Council on this? With Eden Park positioning itself as a national stadium, that kind of interaction seems like a really logical one.
So there's been, and thanks for your comments around the world's largest haka, and certainly it was acknowledged when the award was made. What I would say is that we did a cost recovery basis, so the entire event was free of charge from a venue perspective. It was just a cost recovery of contractors. So in relation to the Dunedin question, yes, certainly there's been extensive promotion, not necessarily directly with the council, but there's a variety of database across the country and diaspora relating to Scotland. And we want this to be, this is a traditional Edinburgh tattoo. We need it to be more than just the traditional attendees. We want the theatre goers going to the event. And it is a spectacle. It's the first time it's been in Auckland, and possibly it'll be the only time in Auckland. So we need to ensure that the whole, I suppose, array of attendees are coming to that event. But thanks for the suggestion with the council.
Councillor Ferry, please.
Kia ora, thank you. I've got a very specific question, and it's about the item that's coming to us on Thursday, but this is the chance to ask you. And I know that things are coming, the information that's coming to us as decision makers is coming together very quickly. I had the good fortune to be at the Albert Eden local board meeting last week where they were determining their feedback, so I've sort of had a little bit of a pre-warning of some of the stuff that was presented to them. So I wanted to ask you a specific question about one of the things that came up there, which was the impact of smaller shows in terms of the sound for the neighbourhood. And so whether, what are there any extra measures that Eden Park could be looking to take that would address that? Because the information that was presented verbally to the local board last week from council staff was that those smaller shows have around the same or maybe only slightly less of a sound impact for the neighbours. So I wondered whether with the smaller shows there is more ability to put in place mitigation for the sound stuff, and what your thoughts were on that. Thank you. Sorry for the long preamble, Chair, but I feel it was kind of a little bit necessary with that one.
Thanks for the question. And we don't have access to that report, but I sat there and I didn't have the opportunity to refute it, and I would strongly refute that. If we were in a situation, and again, we've got an event next year we're looking at, would be classified a concert. It's Picnic in the Park for a children's artist. I would suggest the PA system would be similar to that I'm using now. So how anyone could present without consultation with the venue and saying that event would have the same impact on the residents as Metallica is astounding to me. And so I think you get the right people in the room, you get the right outcome. And we don't have the right people in the room when a local board is getting presented information and making decisions on the livelihoods of businesses without the right people in the room. And so to not even have a copy of that report, to be able to refute it, I've raised my concerns with the local board on that, because I sat there and I was given, as you know, 3 minutes, but then they gave additional time, and I didn't have the opportunity to refute that. I would have said exactly the same at that meeting as I'm doing today, that we have a variety of events, and when I say events and concerts, the classification of that children's picnic on the park would be classified a concert, and the PA decibels is going to be very different to Metallica, because it's naturally, if anyone attended the Tongan fixture, we had Josh Totofi performing at the end of it. The PA system for Josh was very different to what it was for Metallica.
Thank you.
Councillor Filipina, please.
Ata Māori he mana, Chair. Ata Māori e koutou. And to you, Nick, and the team, ngā mihi kia koutou katoa. I've got two questions. One is in regards to your last slide, and that slide was future model, collaboration, etc. And I just want to mention a letter that was sent from the mayoral office in the 21st of December in 2022. In that it was to Jenna Wooten, who was the chair of Tātaki Auckland Limited. And there's a part in there around key expectations of Tātaki, and that is deliver a plan for a single operator for Auckland's 4 main stadia by 1st of July 2023. So we have a look at this. I want to know, how are we getting on? I've asked this question several times over the last few years. Nick, how are we getting on here? Because reading that slide, they're still in progress, and I just want to see what your response is to that. And then I've got one more pātai. Kia ora.
Kia ora, and thanks for the question. I wasn't involved in those discussions in 2022. It was driven by Auckland Cricket Rugby and a delegate from Eden Park Trust. If you can recall, the conversation stalled as a result of the main stadium tender process, and it was seen as, given there was that ongoing REI process, that it wasn't appropriate at the time, until such time as Eden Park was nominated as the venue of choice by the council and the National Stadium. That has now occurred, and now conversations continue with Auckland Council around the exiting of Auckland Cricket and Auckland Rugby. Both Auckland Cricket and Auckland Rugby have written to the government and expressed on 2 occasions their desire now to work with council and government to exit Eden Park. And so there's a number of positive steps occurring currently, and I'm encouraged with the conversations with the Chief Executive, and we've been having a working group now for, I'd suggest, some 6 months on this specific issue.
Do you think, supplementary to that first part, do you think that the collaboration around the 4 stadia is heading in the direction that you think would be beneficial for Tāmaki Makaurau?
There's a number of steps required. The first 2 steps is the exit of Auckland Cricket and Auckland Rugby. That then frees up the ability for the 4 venues to look at how they can be managed under a joint management model, and whether that be from an operational efficiency or indeed an asset management perspective. Overarching philosophies need to be what's best for Auckland. And so our management is committed to that investigation with council. Our board is committed to exploring that with council. But as I say, the first priority for us is Auckland Cricket and Rugby's exit.
Kapai, last part I hear, mana, Chair, and that is in our agenda. There is mention around your governance at Eden Park. In particular, my pātai is that, have there been any discussions that have taken place that you can share with us around a future board of trustees? Because you said that Auckland Cricket, who have 2 according to the agenda, and Auckland Rugby have 2, the ability to have trustees on their board. What changes, if anything, will happen once Auckland Cricket and Auckland Rugby leave Eden Park?
I would envisage that those roles would be replaced once they've exited Eden Park.
And supplementary, and replaced by, obviously not from Auckland Cricket and Auckland Rugby because they're gone. They'll just be replaced in anybody.
I'm mindful that's obviously a governance conversation and conversations around ongoing funding and collaboration with council, but it wouldn't be, I don't think, unreasonable to expect that if council is making a contribution to Eden Park in the future, that they would have representation on the trust.
councillors, it would be a function of the design of the new trust arrangement or governance structure itself. So,
Good question, thank you. Councillor Fletcher, next please.
Thank you for your presentation, and as a resident, I really want to thank you for the valuable contribution that Eden Park is making to our community. It's made a substantial difference. My question is a slightly obscure one. I was sitting on the front deck listening and watching Metallica over last week, and the only thing that really jarred with me, and it's not something just exclusive, I've got to say, to Eden Park, but the complaints that I'm getting are around fireworks. That, you know, we're just getting indiscriminate use of fireworks across the area, and that's perhaps a subject for central government to really give some consideration to. But can you talk to the issue of fireworks being part of concerts going into the future, and whether or not there's a way to be able to warn people around those? Because pets, it might seem insignificant, but it does. If we are to have more events, I do think we need to be careful around those things that are triggers for animals and for people, and certainly fireworks are up there.
So for not all shows that pyro is included, there's flame pots that are used inside the venue. You can see on this image, it's just that's from Coldplay. They had a small fireworks display at the end, and there is reasoning for that. It's part of it is around crowd management. So to disperse the crowd, some people leave immediately. The other thing is also often is to get the artist out of the venue. So but it's limited in terms of its scope, and it's not for every concert. But I'll take it on board, and as I say, I don't think it's something that you'll see at every concert at Eden Park.
But I just really want to reiterate, you know, whether it's the Kingsland Business Association and the just every group that I meet and talk to, just feel really indebted to Eden Park for lifting the opportunities that they have, and it's certainly turned things around.
Thanks for your comments.
Councillor Watson, please.
Just picking up on your comments, Nick, about this desire to grow the content, and particularly under Eden Park 2.1, which you know, with the new cricket format enables all forms of cricket, T20, one day, and Test match. I can understand the appeal then for these big events and growing the offering with that. I was under the impression that also as part of the 2.1, there's also the ability to cater for smaller events because of the structure of the seating. So for instance, we've had 3 international cricket teams here before. It's not even Christmas, and we've had Australia, England, West Indies, and depending on where the team sits or what country it's come from, it can be bigger or smaller crowds. So am I right in assuming in that drive for more content that there's still the flexibility to have much smaller crowds? So sure, state of origin stuff, if they come along, the place will be packed out. But is there, with the new lighting technology and whatnot, the ability to have these games that you maybe only get 5 or 10,000 people, but the ground is configured or the appearance is such that it is almost a boutique-looking type of stadium too? Is that possible under 2.1, and if so, is it part of this drive to just have Eden Park fizzing all the time with big events, smaller events, community events?
Thanks for the question. Yes, it is. And if anyone watched the 2-day test in Perth, they created a bank, a grass bank within Optus Stadium. So stadiums are now looking to create new configurations within the seating bowl to offer a variety of experiences. If people saw at our Tongan fixture, we have now 2 swimming pools down the western end of the venue and a beach that enabled families to buy a ticket into that space. So you need to create experiences. We operate in the experience economy, so that new design for 2.1 stage 1 would enable smaller crowds to feel intimate and then enable the larger crowds to have that overall 50,000 capacity. With regard to the recent cricket games, if anyone attended those, the two West Indian fixtures came down to the last two balls and then the final ball. And it certainly sounded more than 10,000 within the venue for both of those. But it did look sparse, and there are technologies now available with lighting on seats, etc., that can address some of these concerns.
Very good, thank you. Councillor Bartley.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Nick, for your presentation and for the work that you do. Really awesome to see the community involvement and commitment that you have to the community goals. So anyway, thanks also for the comment about it's part of our role to promote major events and to promote the events that you have at Eden Park, because when we do come, we did get a lot of criticism in the public for, you know, being at Eden Park, and then we have a vote on Eden Park. So I find that reassuring, and I appreciated your comment there. I've started meeting with a retirement village in my ward, Logan Campbell, massive retirement village, and their advocacy group, they raised with me their issues. They want to see more major events, and a priority for them is Eden Park. So I thought that was really funny. I'd share that with you, that Eden Park is on the list for one of my retirement villages. So I want to pick up on your comments before about risk. And you said something like the risk shouldn't be borne by the promoter or the artist. So who should it be borne by? And is that a major impediment for major events coming to Eden Park?
Thanks for your comments, and I'm very pleased to hear that about the retirement village. We have a lot of community groups and retirement villages come through for our tour program, so I'll pass it on to the team. Just in relation to major events, it's a very competitive landscape. When you look at Western Australia, they're paying up to $5 million an event or a show to secure content. The east coast of Australia, you have 4 major venues in Melbourne, you have 2 major venues in Sydney, you've got now Brisbane with an event strategy leading into the Olympics and funding available. I recently was fortunate to go to the Edinburgh Tattoo in Edinburgh. You go to Manchester, you go to Liverpool, these cities all have bed levies. And those levies pay for services associated with major events or indeed cleaning up the city after a major event. And I look at even this weekend, on Sunday I sit on the Santa Christmas Parade Trust. Each year we fundraise about $1 million to put on that event. A free community event, over 100,000 people will attend. And you look at that and you say, without those businesses, we wouldn't be able to have that event in the city. However, with a bed levy, or a fund available, those types of events would also be able to apply and attract funding. So that's my comment around, I don't think it should be the promoter or the venue, the artist or the city that bears the risk. I think people are benefiting from these major events, and there should be the ability to use that funding to attract future events. There's no question there are 3 major artists in Australia currently, or in the previous weeks and future weeks, that without funding, obviously they didn't come to New Zealand. There's other factors often that are the case, but in this instance I'd say having an event fund will help us attract funds in events in the future.
Councillor Hills, please.
Kia ora, and thank you for all the work you and the team do, Nick. I think, yeah, it's been pretty fantastic seeing the last few years at Eden Park. Thank you for the invite to Metallica, but I am not the biggest fan, so did say no, and hopefully someone else more deserving was able to take my spot. But I am going to Lady Gaga in Brisbane, but I'm assuming Lady Gaga is one of those examples where it would have only been here if we'd had the funding to get her here, or someone of that. You know, I'm hearing the 5s and 10 sort of $1 million price tags that the state governments are putting into artists like that to hold them there. Would you assume, without commercial sensitivities, but that type of artist is there because of the money?
Well, we give examples in the past of Coldplay coming to New Zealand and not to Brisbane. And so I think that probably answers the question that Brisbane's probably been more proactive in terms of funding available. I know that promoters don't like to talk specifically about artists, but what I would say is that the government's announcement, we welcome the 70 million fund because at least, and promoters have publicly come out and said we're now back in the game. So I'm sure that will assist. And I think when you're driving through Mission Bay 2 days after Metallica and there's 10 people at a cafe wearing a Metallica t-shirt, and the number of people that went to Metallica on a Wednesday and Tool on a Saturday, it just shows what these major events can do for a city. So I don't like talking about specific artists. I can assure you that all of those artists we spoke to, it was just a matter of trying to find a model that could work.
The changes haven't seen the final report for this week yet. There's a lot of advice going into it, but I assume there's going to be some factors about the difference between now and the full suite of what the government's offering. And I guess how you talked about it a little bit, like we'll never have 40 events, but I guess how do you give a bit of a flavour of what the future's looking like? Is it even plausible that you could, any stadium could have that many events that look like a concert actually in 1 year? Is that the aim ever, or are you looking at, look, we would love to have 20 weeks out of 52 sort of full weekends of concerts and things? Or what does it look like? What does the future look like? That's what I think is the hard, it's kind of like this or that.
The best way I can answer that question is if we as a business hadn't changed, we'd be extinct. So I mentioned earlier 70% of what we're doing wasn't part of our business model when I started. If you look to something like the Shakespeare Globe Theatre that unfortunately after a successful run fell over, we wanted to look at bringing that back at Eden Park. Now, I look at that and I go, is that going to be an impost? We've got car parks, we've got a facility that could host that event, but we don't have consent. So it's just another barrier. We've got to eliminate barriers for business to be able to do business. And so what we're talking about is saying that there's case studies globally that sees that venues have 80% idle capacity. So what we're doing is challenging what a stadium can operate as. I was recently approached by a charter school to see whether or not we had space to do a charter school. We considered it, but it couldn't work. We're currently working with Compass around up to 40,000 school lunches on a daily basis where we heat them and distribute around Auckland. So we're a piece of infrastructure that needs to get used. So I can't tell you what the future looks like in terms of utilisation. What I can say is that we need to get Super Rugby crowds up to what they used to attract, because at the moment they're not attracting the crowds that we need. The All Blacks, I think, touch wood, will continue to sell out, irrespective of, the Fortress continues, 52 straight without a loss. But other activity, there's a whole range of genres. We should be looking at K-pop. We should be looking at a Pacifica to replace One Love. There's a whole range, but we can't do that currently. We can't hold festivals. So that's, I look at the restrictions on the Domain and Western Springs. So why can't we be doing 10,000 standing only on the field of play? Well, that'd be classified one of our 6 artists and 12 shows. So we wouldn't even contemplate that currently.
The other question, just there's a lot of focus on this area at the moment because of the Plan Change 120, obviously the intensification there. Are there good examples, like not saying that you would have the money to do this, but the airport have a trust, they pay for double glazing and noise related things in the houses around the airport. Is there an expectation, or have you spoken to developers of what the future looks like with, obviously we're going to be seeing a lot more people living here at the same time as there could be double the concerts over time. Do you see that as something that brushes up against it, or is actually the models overseas fine with, this is like people choose to live in a vibrant area with lots of concerts, etc.?
We haven't spoken to developers, but what I would say is there's countless examples globally of apartments being built on the periphery of stadiums. So if you look at Wembley now, there's over 100,000 people working and living and working in that precinct, all within in some instances, 10 metres of the concourse at Wembley. And people do now concert reviews where they open their balcony, listen to a show and do a review. So they're choosing to live near Wembley. If you look at the stadium I came from in Melbourne, every parcel of land around the perimeter of Marvel Stadium is now being developed. So I think that's just a natural evolution. I do support intensification around Kingsland because you've got a CRL and we need to see greater occupancies at the restaurants, cafes and bars, and without people makes it very difficult for them to survive.
Cool, thank you. And I won't speak in the main thing, but just want to say, yeah, last week was a testament to what it can bring for the city, walking up and down to the bus from work. The whole place was packed all day with Metallic fans and different people, Tool fans, everyone else. So it shows that we need these events, so kia ora.
Okay, Councillor Burns, please.
Thank you, Nick. I think you've already sort of answered this through Councillor Hills, but like Goldilocks, 12 is not enough, 40 is too many. So what is that just right? Is that what you're saying to Councillor Hills? You don't know what that is?
My answer is like a hotel. A hotel wants to be able to operate 365 days a year, but they don't have 100% occupancy. We want to have the flexibility. Is it unreasonable on New Year's Eve to be able to go to midnight? I don't think it is. Even with a 7, 5 and 1 year old, probably our house will be awake at midnight. And so at the moment we can't hold a show on New Year's Eve because we have constraints. And so what we're doing and what we're, I suppose, advocating for is enablement and flexibility. So when we can have conversations with promoters, it's not subject to having a consent approved. Because one event that we've had to apply for a consent, it's cost us a significant amount. Hopefully we attract that event, but if we don't, it's money down the drain.
So can you remind me why we can't have concerts on a Sunday night?
We applied and the community actually supported having the consent on a Sunday night, but at our latest hearing, the commissioners voted against that or determined against that.
Okay, thank you for that. Deputy Mayor will move this and it'll be seconded by Councillor Fletcher that we receive this. Thank you very much for your presentation. If you step back, we might have some comments, but we had a lot of comments on those questions. Does anyone want to further this? No, in that case, I'll move it. And all those in favour, please say aye. To the contrary, carried. Thank you very much for that presentation and for those long list of questions. It was a very valuable input, and we will be considering some of those limitations at the planning meeting of yours, Richard Hills, coming up.
Your Worship, Nick was kind in talking to the dialogue that we're having with Eden Park. I just want to reciprocate and say that in terms of the board, the trustees, and in terms of Nick and his team, there is a really constructive dialogue there and it's appreciated.
Yeah, I think that all the council support the efforts that are taking place in that regard. It's been going on for donkey's years.